Now we're going to define your categories. So categories are the hyphens in your multi-hyphenates. Categories are the different hats that you wear throughout the course of your day or the course of your week or even the course of your life. We're going to go back to that glorious mind mess that you made and use that information along with the floor plan of joy and along with the letters that you wrote yourself from your early age and your older age to figure out what those categories are for you. So if I was thinking about my 6-year-old self and what her categories would be, or what the things that she would want to spend time on doing would be, I would look at my floor plan of joy and I would think about, okay, I like playing dress up and I like playing a teacher and I like making noise and I like making a mess, and thinking about how I wanted to spend my time as a child and translating those into the hats that I wear today in my life. Another thing that was on my floor plan of joy was flirting with bullies, for example. So that would be my romance time now. I'm going to give you examples of the categories that a lot of my clients have used and the categories that I use, and you can use that as a jumping off point. Play is a pretty important category, and I put that first because it's the one that always gets abused and taken advantage of and replaced by other boring things like dishes and sex. Yes, sometimes sex is boring. Okay, also, self-care is a category that I have, and self-care can mean anything from, taking a bath to reading to going to the doctor. Now, going to the doctor is not a fun thing that I like to do. So I actually have my own category for healthcare and my immigration status. I have to set aside 3 hours a week to take care of my doctor's appointments and my visa stuff and my license and all of those kinds of things that I don't want to be doing. They must have their own temple around them in the same way as my creative play must have its own temple around it. So here are my categories. Play, self-care, friend time, media time, that means TV watching mostly. Social media gets its own time, otherwise it invades other times. Play, home care, and then the hyphens, acting, music, producing, writing. You will have many time trampolines in your life, so I don't want you to worry about getting this right the first time. I created 3 time trampolines 3 months in a row when I first started this and completely ignored them. It took me 3 months to even show up for 1 day of my time trampoline. So I want you to be very, very gentle with yourself through this process and see it as an experience and a discovery exercise, and not worry about getting everything down into a calendar that you can beat yourself over the head with for the next 6 years. This is supposed to be joyous. I like to think of my time trampolines in 6-week chunks. So I'm going to use this particular trampoline for the next 6 weeks or even a month, depending on if I know that things are going to be shifting in the next month or so. Sometimes I use a time trampoline and it only lasts a week, and then some big thing happens and I have to do another one. But once I set it up on paper, which is what we're going to do now, and I have a version that I really love, then I put it into my Google Cal or whatever iCal, whatever you use, and I can just slide the categories around as my systems change, as my time trampoline changes. Be careful about not listing your projects as your categories. Your categories are the hats you wear when you create a project, not the project. So the project is the album. The hats I wear are producer, marketer, singer, mixer, writer of song, different categories. So make sure they each have their own time. Because otherwise you might have a tendency to either do the only one that's fun, which might be singing for you, and completely ignore the rest and never share your music with anyone, or you might hide in the place that seems to be easy, like learning how to use the software. The drama that I created for myself was exceptional. Here's what I used to interfere with my own life progression. I would do something very well and sometimes be complimented for the thing, like perform or write a piece that everyone loved. And then I would torture myself continuously for thinking, why am I not creating a career in this thing? Somebody obviously loves what I just did. I should be spending all of my time on this thing. And then lament the tragedy of my life to get in the way of me just doing the thing again. As it turned out, I needed protection from myself, which is where the concept of creating temples around my creative time came from. While you're figuring out what your categories are, I want you to think about what things need protection from other things. That's the ultimate answer in terms of, do I subcategorize writing? Do I subcategorize self-care? Do I subcategorize being a mom because I have 2 children and they need separate amounts of time from me? The answers are all within you. There's no right or wrong here. At the beginning of the building of the Time Trampoline, I want you to keep the categories as broad as possible. Broad. So as not to crowd the choreography. I watched this show. It was a show about ballet, and it was a pretty decent show, actually. And there was a dancer, and she was trying to work out the choreography that the choreographer had given her. And she said this line that I thought was so brilliant, which was, "There's no room for me in the choreography." And this is a problem that a lot of people have when they first build their time trampolines, or any schedule for that matter. We overschedule as a way to fuck with ourselves, as a way to hyper-control our lives. It's another form of distraction or interference to try and self-sabotage so you won't actually build that loving, safe relationship with yourself and your time trampoline. So when you're creating it, I encourage you to keep very broad categories and give yourself a lot of time in the categories so you leave space for yourself in the choreography. I have some students that I've been working with for over a year, and they're finding that within their time trampolines, they're actually leaving large swaths of time where they don't schedule anything. There's no category listed, and that's an open space for them to push things to, or set up meetings that come up, or deal with surprises, or just have time to make a decision in that moment. This is why we call it time management for free-spirited perfectionists. You have to leave space for the free-spirited aspect of yourself to live.